Howdy folks, welcome back to another exciting video of our 1986 Dodge Diplomat turbo build. Now what we have here is a real police car that we're doing a turbo Magnum engine. Now what we did in the last video in this car was actually pull the original engine and transmission out, got rid of it completely, tossed it way far away to make room for our new Magnum engine. Now we put that on the stand, we tore into it just to check out how the health was of it to make sure it was okay, and sure enough it turned out pretty proper. And what we're gonna do today though is make sure that everything's fine for it. We're gonna put all the new gaskets in it, all new everything in it just to make sure that it holds up to that boost, new camshaft to make a little bit more power, and then we're gonna paint it to make sure that it looks good in between the fenders of this police car. Now on top of that, we've got a new 904 transmission that has to be gone through. We've got to make sure that it looks the part and actually will function for what we need it to. So that includes a torque converter, transmission pan, valve body, all sorts of great stuff ahead. So stick around to the end of the video, see exactly what we get done and how much better we can make this car. I'll see you then. As of you watching this right now, I'm actually on my way to PRI in Indianapolis. Now, we've got our rental car here, and even though it is pretty decent on gas, we've actually ran out. So we are currently at the Love's, and I use our app Upside to get the best deal that I possibly can. All I have to do is mark that I am here on the app, fill up, and I will get an instant rebate of 4 cents on this one. And every little bit counts when it comes to getting gas, because right now, the holidays, you gotta save all you can with prices being the way that they are. So I will take 4 cents per gallon. And now that we're back, I got to count how much I made, and man, did we save a ton of money. I mean, every time we stopped and got gas or got something to eat, we hit the Upside app and we were able to see where we could get those rebates. And it's as simple as pulling in and telling them that I was there. I got money back just for being like a click of a button, and it was so cool. So guys, don't miss out on this. Download the free Upside app right now. Use my code McCool and you will get $5 or more cash back when you spend up to $10 or more. It's that simple, guys. Thank you Upside for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Alrighty. We have all the freeze plugs out of this engine right here, and what we're gonna do is pressure wash, because let me tell you folks, there's a bunch of nastiness up in here. Like, look at that. All this sediment build up, that's bad. That's really, really bad. So we're gonna get rid of all the, oh wow, that's worse than I thought. Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, it's a good thing we did this. There's just sludge sitting inside all these coolant passages. So we're gonna stick a pressure washer up inside the block and just take everything out, get it all gone. I ran out of gas. That was violent, but it's clean. Now to make this engine much more fun than what it is, we got a major upgrade right here. This is a Hughes roller cam. It's hydraulic lifters, and we're gonna use this to make this thing have a little bit more power. I've got the cam card right here, and the specs are a lobe separation of 114 degrees, and with a 1.6 ratio rocker, we've got 539 lift on the intake and 549 on the exhaust. And duration at 50 is 218 and 222. So it's got a good bit of lift for this roller cam, not a whole lot of duration. So it's kind of a tame cam, but it's definitely gonna be a huge upgrade from what we have right now. So we'll slide this in with our stock lifters and it should be pretty good to go. No assembly lube on this because we're running roller lifters, so we don't have to have anything like that. Just a little dab of oil goes a long way. And to properly utilize that cam, I'm gonna update our valve springs. These are the dinky little original ones. Look how little that is. Versus our new ones. Nice and strong. This will be actually what we need to eliminate valve float. The rated ones for this are also from Hughes engines as well. So we're gonna take both cylinder heads, put all of these on there with our new locks, and we're good to go. Well, we've got both cylinder heads sitting on the engine now, and what I'm doing is actually installing ARP head bolts. They can adhere to a higher value of torque, and they're just much stronger altogether compared to those factory bolts that have already been through a lot of mileage. We're running factory style head gaskets, and I'm not running anything too thin. You know, it's literally just a factory style, and I don't want to go too thin because I don't want to blow a head gasket out when we turn the boost up. I highly anticipate something bad happening to this engine. So this ARP setup is just some cheap instruments. These bolts were like 70 or 80 bucks, and they're well worth it just to have a little bit of extra clamping force and make sure we don't blow a head gasket. We got our timing chain and gear set done. I had to add a tensioner. Look how much slack was actually in this chain. It's brand new. This is the second one I put on here. This engine never came with a tensioner from the factory, but I added one. I think the later model Magnums probably had a tensioner, so I added this one to it, and it seems to be working just fine. So everything's torqued down, got everything figured out. All of the rocker arms and push rods are back in place. No binding, no issues up here. So it's looking pretty good. I'm excited about that. So we'll put the timing cover on now, flip it back over, oil pan, and the engine should be good besides paint. Let's get our oil pan on. This is from Summit Racing along with the pickup. There, like a glove. Here comes my favorite part of any engine assembly, paint. We're gonna start off with some Duplicolor primer, and this stuff is good for up to 500 degrees. Now, if this thing ever hits 500 degrees like that, I really hope I'm nowhere near it because it's gonna get ugly. And then after that, for the engine itself, we're gonna be using gloss black. Now, this stuff is gonna look good because it's the original style paint. This is what it looked like from the factory, and you know, you can't go wrong with black. Hides all your oil leaks. So we'll be using this and some satin black for some accent pieces, as well as this aluminum. Now this is cast coat aluminum, and it looks like, you know, basically what it would look like from the factory, but it gives it some protection. It keeps it from oxidizing on those aluminum parts, and it just makes it look refreshed and brand new. Man, oh man, does this engine look good. That black Dupla color just looks fantastic. I love the way it turned out. It sprays and covers perfect, and it just, oh man, it looks so clean. After I did this, I did a few more things off camera. I popped in the new brass freeze plugs. They just look so good against that black, and they will last. I just love brass freeze plugs. They look so good. And on top of that, I painted a few extra things. We got the harmonic balancer on there down low. Did the same thing with the gloss black, and then got it set on top dead center, so we are ready to at least put the engine in. I also painted the valve covers, but I did a satin black to kind of just break it up a little bit. You know, that's kind of what the original looked like. So we've got gloss black on the engine block, and then satin on the valve covers. And then I actually cleaned up this original tensioner here and used satin black on it and just cleaned up the tensioner itself. So it looks very clean, and I'm excited about it. And I opted not to paint the oil pan just because I thought it looked pretty good as it was. And I mean, nobody's gonna see it, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But we've got a lot of the accessories painted, and whenever we go to put the engine in, we'll pop all that stuff on so it's not in the way. Now inside this box, we painted a few things just to match the engine. We're using that water pump because it was a replacement water pump. Satin on the fan blades, cast aluminum on the clutch, gloss on the water pump itself. Then the alternator and AC bracket, I painted that with some cast aluminum just to bring it back. Same thing with that power steering pump, satin on the pump, and then cast aluminum on the bracket. And we're gonna do away with the AC. I'll show you guys that later on, how we're gonna do that, but everything's gonna look good. And we'll pop all this on when the engine's actually in the car. Here is our transmission. This is a 904 non-lockup. Now our old transmission had a lockup torque converter, and finding an aftermarket one is kind of tough. Not so easy to do unless you buy new. Now what I see here, it looks like somebody has replaced some seals at one point. Not sure if it's been rebuilt or not. I just pulled the pan and it looks pretty nice. Like there's no crazy buildup of sediment. I mean, it's got a little bit of like gray, which is like, you know, just the tiniest bit of friction material, which is perfectly normal. That's exactly what we hope to see. I think this transmission is going to be a good one. And the reason I'm going with this one is because it will bolt right in place of our original transmission, just without the lockup converter. So what we have is a properly good transmission, it seems. The transmission was in a car that was running and driving. It actually came with a 318 that was in my 58 Plymouth, but the car was wrecked. So the car wasn't parked because of the transmission at least, but what we're gonna do is pressure wash it really fast. I just wanted to pull the pan to make sure that I wasn't wasting my time with anything. So we'll stick the pan back on and actually pressure wash and get all this grime up. And then we're gonna do some band strut adjustments, make sure everything is tight. That's also good. We don't need that anyway, but we have at least a good looking transmission pan. There might be a possibility this thing was rebuilt at one time because somebody added a drain plug to it. I mean, it's not very well done, but it was done. And underneath here, you can kind of see, I mean, the filter is not full of like trash and just materials. It's all clean. It's just got fluid on it. I feel like my IQ levels have reached an all-time high. I have never been able to put together a transmission without crawling on the concrete floor, but today we have the Wildfire lift here that I can make my own workbench. This is fantastic. So we got everything cleaned up and it's looking pretty good. Like I said, it looks like some seals have been replaced, some haven't, but we're still gonna go ahead and just do some cheap insurance and make sure we have all good seals. So we'll start with probably the worst one, and it's this shifter seal right here. They're not fun to get out, but once you get them out, you're pretty much golden. Aha! There you are. This seal right here is probably why you see all this gunk everywhere. This thing leaks, transmission fluid slowly seeps out, road grime and dirt gets on this thing, and it just covers everything. And now with the front seal, this is the lesser common one to go bad, but it still happens. And the problem is you gotta pull the transmission out completely, plus the torque converter to even get it out. So might as well replace it while we're here, even if it does look like it's been replaced before. And just like that, new seal, we'll tap it in. And our final and most accessible seal is the one on the tail shaft. This one is easier to replace just because all you gotta do is pull the drive shaft out and you can replace this one pretty simply. But since we already have it out of the car, we might as well do it now. Now I like using these seals because they protect just the edge of the drive shaft a little bit more than what you would see on that old seal. So just a good little extra precaution for the sake of it. It appears that I've ordered the wrong one. Yup. Dang. Now for a couple of upgrades for our 904 transmission. First of those being this deep pan that I bought at the swap meet. Got the fancy cooling fans underneath. I have no idea what brand it is. Comes with a drain plug, so that's really handy to have. And then has all the spacers and everything you need for the hardware. And this beautiful looking little filter that's kind of like gold. I mean, how cool is that? And then the wild card. This is the one thing that I don't really know about a lot. This is a PTC. It's a 9.5-inch converter for that 904, and they don't know what it is. I called them and I said, hey, you know, based off the numbers, can you tell me what I have? They said, yeah, we rebuilt that about 20 years ago. And that's the last information they have on it. No idea what it is. So I'm hoping it's a good unit. If I remember right, which I bought this a couple years ago and I don't remember, I think they said 3,400 RPM for a stall. I don't know. There's that last click. That's what we like to see. All right, torque converter's in. Now we'll just need a flex plate and we should be good to go. That does it for the transmission. The only other thing I'm going to do is actually upgrade the valve body. We're gonna go with a shift kit in it, so I'm gonna send it off and send it to somebody who actually can do it properly, because you know I don't trust myself after reading those instructions, and I want this thing to actually shift right. So that's the last upgrade we'll do. Other than that, in that rear seal, the transmission is ready to go. Now before we get too carried away with putting the engine in, we've got to do something about this engine bay. It is bad. So I want to get rid of a lot of this stuff that we don't need. AC, we're not going back with that. I'm going to take all this out, condenser, all the lines. I'm not going to cut anything. We'll save it just in case me or somebody else in the world needs it. And we're going to just try to clean up a lot of the wiring. But mostly, most importantly, we're going to be pressure washing everything, making it look a little bit better and just cleaner overall, because it just looks really gross. So we're gonna start with removing everything, get all that stuff out of the corner, make room for some turbo, and then pressure wash. Well, I must say the engine bay looks a lot better. Compared to what it was before, we've got a huge upgrade, a lot more room over here to kind of put turbo-y stuff, because I'm imagining the turbo kind of sitting in this area right here, if I'm thinking properly, so, which I mean, that's kind of few and far between, but I think it looks a lot cleaner, a lot more room for activities, just not greasy anymore and gross, and heck, we might even hit it with an SOS pad and just clean it up a little bit more, but for right now, I'm much happier with how this engine bay turned out. Man, I can't wait to see that engine in there. That's gonna look so good. And on top of all the AC stuff, I didn't cut anything, I didn't break anything, It's all unbolted, and I laid it over here so, you know, maybe somebody can use it, or maybe I'll put AC back in it one day. But for right now, we got some weight savings and a bunch of access for a big old radiator. That's exactly what we need for this thing to keep it cool. Well, folks, that is it for today's video. Now, the goal was to get the engine and transmission at least sitting in the car, but unfortunately, our flex plate issue and our tail shaft and the transmission acting up is just gonna keep us set back for just a little bit longer. But the next video will have the engine and transmission sitting in the car and hopefully get it to where we can actually make it start and run. We have everything put together. We've got the camshaft, the engine is completely ready and painted, and it looks oh so fantastic with that Duplicolor paint. I love it. I mean, it just looks great. Transmission's ready to go. Just got to put it in the car besides those two couple things. But hey, it is what it is, guys. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for bearing with me and being patient with me while we go along with this. Turbo build is imminent. We're going to be this close to making it run. And next video, it should be to that point where we can fire it up for the first time in so long. We've got a lot of work left ahead of us. We got a whole fuel system to create. We got to wire it. We got to do all sorts of crazy stuff to make that happen. But we can do it. I know we can do it. I know for a fact we can do it. So thank you guys for watching, being patient with me, and enjoying these videos. You know, you liking and subscribing and commenting really helps me out. And on top of that, if you want to, you know, t-shirts and stickers are down in the link below. If you order one, all that money goes directly back into cars like this, making these things run. So I greatly appreciate everything you guys have done for me and sticking through me through the years. It's just been an honor to be able to entertain you for just a few short minutes. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.